What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. In this video, I want to talk about something that happened very recently and that really needs to be talked about. And that is a situation involving a 15-year-old black girl being attacked by a group of young black teenage boys in the city of New York. And a lot of people have been saying a lot of things and having a lot of opinions, and I'm just want to come through and give you my take and my opinion on this situation and say some things that need to be said that aren't being said, and to reiterate some things as well. So let's get into it. All right. So first, we always hear about strong black masculinity, right? So I'm like, okay, where is this strong black masculinity right now when we need some strong black masculinity to come through and handle some things? Because right now it's looking like that strong black masculinity was applied to that black girl, and that's about it. That's pretty much what I'm seeing here. Just wanted to throw that out there right quick. So, where's this strong black masculinity that that we all hear so much about, right? And I'll say that this situation happened to one of my sister's friends, like years ago, probably back in the 90s, actually. Um, my sister and her friend were both in middle school, and my sister's friend, she was a bit of a roughneck. She was picking, the one to pick fights, with men, especially, well, boys at that time. you know, I think she was kind of like a bigger girl. You know, she was dark skinned. She's a dark skinned sister. I'm sorry, dark skinned sisters out there. I know y'all was like, damn it. It always got to be the dark skinned sister, right? But yeah, she was dark skinned. And my sister's more like a peanut butter complexion, you know. But yeah, something like this happened to one of my sister's friends. And she had told me about the story years ago, but they were both in middle school. And at the time, that middle school, it had like the reputation of pretty much being a bad school, right? Like my sister said, fights used to happen every day. At least once a day there was a fight. And that's a big deal, because I went to the school later, but by the time I got to the school had been cleaned up. And there is an age difference between me and my sister as well, about a 7 to 8 year age difference. But so my sister's friend, she was, I guess, picking a fight with one of the boys in the school who was also a part of a gang, and then I think at one point or another, my sister's friend wound up meeting up with my sister, and then my sister kind of noticed that there was a whole bunch of dudes around, you know. And then, they were both trying to get away from the dudes, and then they wound up getting onto like the track field or whatever. And one thing kind of led to another, and the dudes were going to just let it go. But then, as the dudes were walking away, my sister's friend started talking shit, and then all the dudes came over and beat her ass. Yeah. All right. So this has happened. I don't think this is completely an isolated incident. You know, just saying. And you know, it's just something to think about, though, right? So that's something that sort of popped into my mind when I heard about this story as well, right? Um, but back to this story in general, though, some people are asking, what did the girl do? What did she do? And I can understand as far as like, you know, investigations and police investigations and things like that. But sometimes I feel like people are asking this just to alleviate blame from the group of young men. But I really don't even want to call them young men. The group of boys, and that's being really nice about it. The group of black boys. Because I feel like if the situation was switched, right, and let's say, a young black boy was jumped by a group of, young white boys, would we be asking, what did that black boy do to them? And I know the situation isn't exactly the same. I know that, you know, racist cave beasts do exist, you know. But even if it was like, oh, a group of young black girls attacking one black boy, I feel like we would be more so attacking the black girls who were attacking the black boy. And we wouldn't be asking, what did he do? You know, I just feel like, I don't know. I'm not saying that that isn't a valid question, but sometimes I feel like when that question is thrown out there, is more so not because people want to really get to the bottom of it, but more so they want to alleviate blame and sort of just create a diversion in a sense and just not really concentrate on the issue at hand. So they're going to try and pass it off as, oh, it was the girl's fault, right? And, I am wondering myself, what was the motivation behind that? Was this just completely random? I don't think so. But, you know, what was the motivation behind, this attack? You know, what were the boys thinking when they did that? I mean, that is a valid question, but what's the motivation behind the question, right? Right. And also remember, not too long ago, there was a black man in NYC, New York City, who attacked an elderly black woman on a subway train and was like stomping her. Y'all remember that? And, folks were saying like, oh, well, that dude was Dominican. That happened in the Dominican part of town, And, granted, there are differences between us within the diaspora, of course. But I notice when I'm starting to see sort of a pattern here. When it's black men at fault, then it's like, okay, let's look for something to alleviate blame, something to allow black men to sidestep blame and accountability. And then all of a sudden, ADOS versus non-ADOS comes into play. And usually when black women are being put on trial, so to speak, I don't really see ADOS and non-ADOS being pushed like that as much, right? Like, just recently with like Jodie Turner-Smith um, coming out as a swirler. I don't remember ADOS and non-ADOS being pushed like that, right? And also, it's again something to think about. But like, what situation with say Snoop and Gail? Again, I don't remember. I mean, they're both ADOS, I believe, but still, like, you know, I just think that this whole sometimes when people bring up ADOS versus non-ADOS, I just think that it is usually it's brought up when it's when we are trying to say that, oh, black men aren't to blame, specifically black American men, African American men are not to blame. This wasn't an African American man, you know, as if, people outside of the community really make a distinction between, ADOS and non-ADOS. By and large, they don't. Especially a lot of times people don't even know. So when they see the black boys and the black girl, they're just thinking black, whether it's black American or whatever, it's just black. There's no differentiation, right? And low key, that's sort of like what we tell other people within the diaspora that come over here and kind of act like, oh, they don't want to be associated with black folks, black American folks, or maybe they think they're a little better than black American folks, right? That at the end of the day, you're going to be included in black people, whether you want to or not, by other groups of people because of the way that you look, right? Don't people tell that to, like, say Dominican folks or Afro Latinos, right? As well as Native Africans and even some Caribbean folk. So I noticed that the situation is being switched up a little bit, though. What's up with that? That's something to think about. So some people are saying that this is sort of like the Snoop Dogg effect, more so. Again, we already know about the situation of Snoop Dogg and Gayle King and how Snoop Dogg was coming at Gayle King, very aggressive on a low-key violent tip, so to speak. And some people are saying that pretty much this, I don't think this situation itself, just sparked off this the situation of violence against black women. I just think it helped perpetuate it. That's what it did. It didn't help to alleviate the problem or to rectify the problem, to solve the problem, or even to help to solve the problem. It helped to perpetuate the problem. So, yeah, I do think that in one way or another, the situations are connected in some way. Right. And then, we had a situation with the rapper DaBaby recently, slapping one of his female fans, a black female fan, and he's requesting a sit-down talk with her. I think she has decided to sue, which I don't, I don't blame her. Go ahead and get your bag. Because, that sit-down talk, like, what's going to really come of it? Except for just damage control for him. What you going to get out of it? Just put it like that. What you going to get out of this little talk he want? Right. So, does DaBaby get a pass for slapping a female fan, a black female fan? I feel like one way or another, they're going to try to give DaBaby a pass. Somehow. And both black men and black women are going to give DaBaby a pass. Not all, but a segment. A loud vocal segment is going to do that. You know how that goes. The people with the garbage ass opinions will get pushed to the forefront, right? And it's just, I'm not really familiar with DaBaby's music because I haven't really listened to it. I don't know if he kind of like has promoted violence against women in his music or not. I don't know. But I heard that this wasn't the first time that something like this has happened with DaBaby and, a female, probably a black woman or a black girl, because that's probably, partially that's because of, his immediate surroundings and his immediate community, and also because I feel like, black women are kind of like easy targets, unfortunately. And I think that situations like this sort of prove that black women are like easy targets, and there tends to not be as much outrage when it happens to a black woman. Because like if this was a group of black boys who attacked a young white girl, like those dudes would be probably facing death sentences or something. There would be something, right? And to an extent, they even know better not to even do that. The way that the system of white supremacy is set up, they have given messages to people, especially black men, for years about what's going to happen if you cross a white woman. Right. You know, white supremacy, the system, you know, it sends its messages. It sends its messages, all right? We know that. So, you know, something to think about. And, you know, what I fear in this situation when it comes to that young black girl being attacked by the young black boys, what I really fear is that we as the black community will end up defending the black boys against the system of white supremacy at the expense of the young black girl who was attacked, which sadly is routine in the black community. This does happen where sometimes, you know, ultimately black boys and black men are prioritized over black girls and black women. And it's just, you know, it's routine. It's very much normalized for one reason or the other. And I think it's like, oh well, black boys and black men are, you know, the biggest targets of white supremacy. And, you know, I don't want to get into like, you know, the struggle Olympics. Well, I guess the oppression Olympics is what they the oppression Olympics, you know. I just like to say that, you know, black men and black women, you know, they have their own situations and issues within the system of white supremacy, right? And, you know, I think we can deal with both sets of issues, but usually we don't. And usually it just ends up pushing black men's issues as being black community issues while pushing black women's issues as just being black women's issues, right? And I think we've seen this play out in history as well, right? Um, so, what do you think the punishment should be for these young black boys who attacked this young black girl? You know, what should the punishment be? I personally think that they should be punished to the full extent of the law. I think that, you know, the punishment needs to be fair and just in the sense that they're not being, like, you know, racially discriminated within the punishing, because that can happen too. But see, notice that, you know, low key, we're prioritizing the boys already, right? But yeah, they should be punished to the full extent of the law, in my personal opinion. But what do you think? I think that's a good question to throw out there. What should be the punishment, right? And as well, back to the situation with the defending black boys over black girls situation. Like, for instance, you remember a while ago, like a long while ago, the situation that happened with Chris Brown and Rihanna. You know, Chris Brown attacked Rihanna. And within the black community, at least, you know, Chris Brown was prioritized over Rihanna. I know y'all remember that. And if you don't, you know, ask someone who does. Let them tell you about it, right? And I just think that something like that's going to end up playing out. You know, especially if black people are left to decide the punishment, which most likely will not happen. Let's be real. But if it was to happen like that, then yeah, definitely. You know. So, and something else that needs to be addressed is, some people will say, "Oh, you know, they'll say like we'll have like we as the black community have to defend black men like say Stephon Clark, right? Y'all remember him, right? The black community, some people will push that like, oh, we have to defend, the Stephon Clark types for the greater good, right? But we can't defend this black girl for the greater good of black women, right? We won't end up doing that or even saying something like that, right? And both black men and black women will do this, right? They'll end up trying to, again, prioritize black men's plight before black women's plight. And it'll be for the good of the community, even though the black man was probably trash, right? Just a no good, excuse me, a no good thug, just very racist, colorist, color struck, you know, anti-black, I should say, really, right? And we'll have to defend that, and people will even ask black women who have received the brunt of the criticism from that black man in particular to defend that black man, right? Because of the greater good, right? But when it comes to this black girl, then it's like, oh, I'm not sure. We got to have a discussion about this, right? We got to have a talk, right? We got to see. I'm not sure, right? And that's not a surprise. If you've been in this community long enough and seen how things play out, that's not a surprise, right? And, to an extent, I hate to say this, but I think this is part of this one reason, as well as a lot of other reasons, of course, that, the, white feminists do kind of tend to stay away from black female issues because I think partially they know how black women are and what black women will support. So I can understand them in a sense, in that sense, and let me just pretend like that didn't happen. Because let's say if white feminists did come in and try to cape and save the day, I feel like some black women would try to sabotage that. And also, there would probably be some sort of a racial undertone with it as well, and it can get complicated. So, yeah, I understand in that sense. Again, I'm not defending, I'm just saying. And, another aspect of this that low key isn't being talked about, but needs to be talked about. And I know I'm going to catch some flack for talking about this and saying this, but I'm just going to say it. When you see this situation playing out, you can think like, you know, is there a colorism aspect to this? Because we're seeing a group of black boys, primarily brown skin and dark skin, attacking a brown skin and dark skin black girl. And considering the negative propaganda, if you want to call it that, criticisms, opinions that have been expressed by some, you know, small but vocal group of black men in the media about, brown skin and dark skin black women. Right? Plus, we got rap music and hip hop that, helps perpetuate that too, right? You know, so, some people could say, because, could there perhaps be a colorism aspect to this, right? Like, what if there was like a group of black boys, brown skin and dark skin, attacking like a mixed or biracial girl? Do you think things would play out a little differently? Mm. You think the girl would get a bit more sympathy and empathy? You know, again, it's some things to think about here. You know, you know, would we see a group of white boys attacking a white girl? Would we see a group of mixed biracial dudes attacking, mixed light skinned woman, female, girl? You know, you're not saying that it's impossible, but I just think that I don't know if it applies to this situation in particular. Okay, I don't know because I don't know the details like that, but there could be a low-key resentment, animosity from some darker skinned black men and boys towards some darker skinned black women and girls. And perhaps this could be the manifestation of that. Perhaps. All right. So, one more thing I want to kind of explore here is okay, I was on YouTube and I ran across a post by a Spanish language news program that airs on Telemundo called Al Rojo Vivo, um, which translates to red hot, as I've read. So they had posted a story, or this story rather, of the 15-year-old girl being attacked by black boys on their community tab, right? And they received some comments, of course, right? They received some comments, and most of these comments are in Spanish, but I can translate. Yo hablo español como lengua extranjera, pero hablo español. Y I just want to come through and just share some of the comments, a few, and just see how things are playing out within other communities about this particular story or situation. You know what I mean? All right. Let's see. And there's a lot of comments. So I can't read them all, but here is one comment. One person said, I would say 15 gang members, delinquents, are matones, which translates to thugs. So there's like, yo diría 15 pandilleros, delincuentes, or matones. And, and they were referring to the way that this story was being presented by the news program, and basically saying that they would call those 15-year-old boys, gang members, delinquents, thugs. One person posted under that comment as a reply, gorillas, right? And, when it comes to, black people acting a fool, especially black men and boys acting a fool, it turns into like monkeys, gorillas, apes, oh my. Right. That's where it goes. Let's be real. All right. Let's see. Let's see another comment. All right. Because there was another comment, or some comments that alluded to, race that I wanted to talk about. Here's a comment. So, y todos negros. Ha 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 ha. So they're saying, and all black. And they're laughing. And then it's like, ellos mismo le gusta ir a la cárcel. Y los padres igual. And that translates to pretty much they like to go to jail, and their parents too. So notice that you don't see any, right now we haven't seen any differentiation between ADOS and non-ADOS as of yet, right? I haven't, and I've kind of scanned this comment section prior to, and I didn't see any references to Afro-estadounidense, Afro-americano, Caribbean, Afro-Latino. No, I've just been seeing negro. And in many countries, the word negro is considered offensive to call black people. A lot of times they just use the word morenos, morenos. I think Cuba, they specifically say like prietos. Um, Sometimes it's just de color, right? But I've been seeing a lot of negro, a lot of it. Let's see. Let's see. Here's another comment. Son como manos cuando atacan a un invasor. Un invasor. So that translates to they are like monkeys when they attack an invader, right? And I had read some comment, I can't find it, that was saying pretty much just as like, el planeta de los simios, which translates to pretty much this is like a scene from the Planet of the Apes, right? Again, I didn't see anyone making differentiations between ADOS and non-ADOS in the section. And to be fair, like all these comments are not racial based. All right. I don't know if the news organization has deleted and cleaned up the comment section. That could be a situation when they're removing some of the more offensive comments and things like that. Because like now I can't really find the same comments that I found yesterday that I wanted to kind of point out. Right. Let's see. But nevertheless, let's see. I think I can share maybe like one more comment here. Let's see. And one person posted, "Como diría el principito? Veo humanos, pero no veo humanidad," which translates to, as the very beginning would say, I think, I see humans, but I don't see humanity. Interesting, right? And I think that is a good way to end this session, not segment, but in this per se. But again, not all Latino folks are the same. Disclaimer, and I did see some other comments yesterday that I don't see today. So I think that they may have cleaned up that comment section some. They may be monitoring it. And it is like a popular news program, so I can understand them doing that. I know I remember seeing the word chongo thrown around. And that is a word that means monkey in Mexico specifically. Another word I was seeing thrown around was marihuanero, which is like weed head or a pot head. And if these dudes were on smoking up, I don't think they would be doing that. I'm not saying that they need to be smoking up, but I'm just saying, and as well, I don't really see the victim, at least in that comment section. I didn't really see the victim being really acknowledged that much, right? And protecting her, her femininity and things like that. I didn't really see that, and that's something else that I need to point out too. And unfortunately, the lack of acknowledging black female victims is sadly very common. That's not anything new. Especially, outside the community as well as in the community. It's just nothing new. It's it's pretty standard, actually. Not saying that no black woman has ever, you know, had been able to be a victim, but I'm just saying. But what do you guys think about all this? You know, do you side with the black girls, the black boys, neither, both? You know, do you think that the black boys should be punished? If so, what's the punishment for them? You know, so let me know what you think. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.